All right, this is going to be our second lesson in poetry. And so today I'm going to be looking at the That's All, folks, the ending part of your poems. Um, so this kind of reminded me of a little trick that poets use, professional poets use. And I wanted to share it with you to give you another author trick that you can use to end your poem. Now, you don't have to. If it doesn't sound right, don't use it. But um, it is very powerful. So let me just show you a little bit about the ending. Now we're going to look at this first poem, and right away I'm not going to point it out, and then at the end, afterwards, I will. This is written by Isaiah, was in fourth grade at County Line with permission. It's called Stars. Stars in the sky. There are millions of stars in the sky. They shine like a diamond. They are like tiny points poked in a blanket. Some stars connect to make images. Stars in the sky. Okay, so you might have noticed that this one started off with something important, stars in the sky, and ended the same way. He was having a little trouble and saying, okay, I wanted to stop it right here. How can I bring it to a close? And he goes, I might try this, what's called a circular poem, where you start and end the same way. It kind of just closes it out nicely. The next one is Goosebumps by Sydney Robbins. Again, when she was in fourth grade, and we went to the art museum, and she saw that janitor. And if you've been to the art museum, many of you have, you know how creepy he is. And instead of just calling him the janitor, she said Goosebumps. That janitor, just looking at him gives me goosebumps, the chills. He is so realistic. Waiting for him to start moving. I start walking away and can't help but look back. He hasn't moved a muscle. I wonder if he moves when nobody's looking. Does he come alive at night? Is he really made out of wax? That janitor. Okay, so you can see that she had that same thing. She wanted you to think about that janitor being kind of giving her the goosebumps and chills. Another thing she did is whenever there's a new line, you pause a little bit. And she gave some white spaces for dramatic pauses in here. So that janitor, just looking at him gives me goosebumps, the chills. So whenever you come to the end of the line, that's like a breath, like when you're doing music. That's like your breath time where you pause a little bit. That janitor, just looking at him gives me goosebumps, the chills. Now, when you do dramatic pauses, it's something super important that you want them to remember. Like, he is so realistic. Okay. So she did a nice job of putting groupings together and putting a couple dramatic pauses in there. You don't want too many dramatic pauses. So in this one over here, maybe too many. Like there's just lines. So this one you just read the same way, but there wouldn't be any dramatic pauses because they have all big pauses. This one she wanted it to be a little bit of a music, so you could read it like that. That janitor, just looking at him gives me goosebumps, the chills. Again, you pause. He is so realistic. Pause. So starts it, ends it the exact same way. Nice closing to it. And she had a lot of author tricks in here, um, trying to put a picture in your mind and give you a little bit of emotion there, what she was thinking about when that goosebumps. Just looking at his eyes here kind of creeps me out a little bit. And the last one we're going to be doing today is another fourth grader. This one here, a little bit of emotion again. She wanted to write about her grandpa, but I want you to think about how she started it, how she ended it, and more importantly, how I read it. Remember when I do these little breaks here, dramatic pauses, wherever there's an ending to the sentence, I just pause a little bit, kind of my breath mark. Okay, this is called Grandpa's Embrace. My grandpa is not around. I loved him with all my heart. He was there when I was born, and I took my first breath of life. When I was older, he used to give me old-fashioned candy. The flavors would warm our mouths as we smiled at each other. We would swim together in the lake until we were bright blue. He would wrap his arms around me in a gentle bear hug. It felt so warm. It felt so nice in his loving embrace. My grandpa is not around. I loved him with all my heart. Okay, so again, circular. Now, if it doesn't sound right, don't do it. But in this case, you picked something that's super important that she wanted you to remember, and she put it at the start and at the end. Hit it twice so you would remember it. And it was a great way to close out her poem. Made a nice ending to it. And also, she had a couple dramatic pauses in here, but not too many. And you could see how I did minor breaths right after each line. This is a very powerful poem that had a lot of emotion and a lot of imagery in it. And again, it had a little bit of music to it by the way she designed it, with the pauses in it. You could sense the beating of it. Okay, the rhyming, no rhyming, just the beat of the pauses where you breathe like music. All right, so today, the authors we reviewed all today, who are kids from County Line, use circular endings to their poems. This kind of ending gives their writing a balance by using the same thing at the beginning and at the end. In this way, it pulls the piece together. Keep this in mind when you write your poem, the ending today. But I'm going to stress this. Don't force it. Circular endings won't work in every piece of writing. If it doesn't sound right, don't do it. If you want to try it, though, first select that really important part that you want them to remember and put it in the beginning, put it at the end then, and then fill it in the middle. Okay, so that's how those work. This is a great author trick. I hope you guys could use it. Maybe in our next Poetry Cafe meeting with video conferences, we could share a couple like that, and we can point some of those circular endings out. And just because I talked about that, I'm going to end my lesson with the same thing. And that's all, folks.